last of the late afternoon games, the Cowboys at the Vikings. The line open Vikings -9. It's been trickling down to 7.5. It looks like a lot of sharp money on Dallas. So who do you like in this game?
I like the sharps this week, evidently, because I'm leaning on the Cowboys in this one. And I just want to say, let's calm down on the Vikings for a second. They've won 3 in a row and they've looked impressive doing it, but you have to take stock of what they've beaten. They're playing very well. Mike Zimmer deserves credit, but they beat the Packers when the Packers were looking ahead to a Thursday night football game. And the Vikings were coming off of a bye, so the Packers weren't properly prepared for that game. Then the Vikings crushed the Lions, but Matthew Stafford left late in that game, and that's when the lead was kind of extended. And then Monday night they, beat the Bears, but the Bears were horrible on offense. It was painful to watch. I think Cordero Patterson's kickoff return touchdown was almost as many total yards as the Bears had on offense the entire night, which is just mind-bogglingly unbelievable, especially since Matt Nagy's an offensive-minded head coach. I can't figure that out at all. It makes no sense. So, yes, the Vikings are winning. Are they winning impressively? I wouldn't say so. I think they've beaten their win over the Packers is impressive, but it was also not a great situation for the Packers. So I'd call them solid instead of massively impressive. And then, the Cowboys have been awful this year. I'm not going to pretend they've been any good. Their defense is terrible, but they're getting Andy Dalton back. They're coming off a bye. I don't think that has a huge impact because I don't think Mike McCarthy's a very good coach at this point in time. But if they can balance their poor defense by playing well on offense, if Andy Dalton isn't constantly under pressure, if he can get Ezekiel Elliott the ball and Zeke can, generate some yardage against the Vikings run defense, that'll give them a chance to open things up a bit more for the passing game. And the Chargers corners Vikings corners have not been good this year. They give up more yards to receivers than I think every team in the NFL except the Seahawks. So I think the Cowboys have the personnel to take advantage of that and keep it close. They'd have to do it in a shootout, but if they're getting 7.5 points, we're getting a lot of key numbers, 6 and 7 here. I think the Cowboys can cover that even if it's backdoor. So I'm going to be on the Cowboys here. I have no delusions about betting the Cowboys heavily, so I'm probably on for 1 or 2 units here at most, and I'm going to want to see the injury report. But I do think that against this defense, the Cowboys should keep it close.
Yeah, so Atlanta is my number 1 underrated team right now. I think Dallas is number 2. And I know that may sound crazy because they look terrible at times this year. They're 2-7. They've had some ugly losses, but they haven't been healthy for a while. Obviously their 2 tackles are still out. Dak Prescott's still out, but that's kind of it. They've gotten a lot of players back from injury. Right before the bye, when they played the Steelers closely, almost beat Pittsburgh outright. They had their linebacking core fully on the field for the first time all year, and they shut down James Conner. So, while Dalvin Cook is better than James Conner, I still think that they could limit Cook enough to make Kirk Cousins have to throw. And what you're saying about the corners is true. Their pass defense, those numbers are terrible. But I think this could also be a mirage, like the other way we saw with Washington, where the Cowboys are going to be better than they were against the pass because they're getting some players back from injury as well. Chidobe Awuzie is going to be back for the first time since week 2. And having him on the field is going to be big because he's their best corner. He's their probably only good corner, I would say. So having him around should be able to take care of one of those receivers. So this Dallas team is going to be better defensively. Offensively, they're getting Zach Martin back for this is the second game, I think. He was out in that ugly loss to the Redskins, but he came back against Pittsburgh, and Dallas moved the ball at times. So I think they should be able to protect Andy Dalton better than Dalton last saw. And I think a big mismatch in this game, I feel like, is Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb going against the Viking cornerbacks who aren't they're so banged up in the secondary. I thought Chicago would be able to take advantage of that, but Nick Foles is just so inept. And I guess Andy Dalton could be just as inept, but I like, outside of Allen Robinson, I like the Dallas receivers a lot better than what Chicago has with Anthony Miller and Darnell Mooney. So Yeah, I think this line is way too high. I made this line, as crazy as it sounds, Minnesota -3.5 when factoring in Dallas's bye and plus Minnesota being on short rest. Yeah, I think this is going to be a close game. I'm not surprised the Sharps are on the Cowboys, so Dallas is going to be a big play for me.
Yeah, and I think I feel more confident in them now hearing that. I could definitely see them being underrated. I think people tend to overreact to the Cowboys because, they have the whole America's team thing. So when they look good, people think like, oh, they're really good, going to win the Super Bowl good. And then when they're bad, it's like, oh my God, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league bad. And, I think you hit the nail on the head with the injuries. Like they've just been so many for Dallas this year and they've had to overcome them. But I think the receiver matchup is going to be huge because the Minnesota corners have allowed 16 receiving touchdowns to receivers this year. That is tied for most in the NFL. Only the Seahawks are the only one with the same amount. So those three will be huge. And if Andy Dalton could just get the ball in their hands, they can make some plays.
Yeah, and those stats came when they had a healthy cornerbacking group, and now they don't. They're going to be missing at least 2 cornerbacks in this game, maybe 3 if Dantzler's out again. So yeah, I'm glad to hear we're both on the same side for Dallas. Yeah, like I said, not surprised at all that the Sharps like them. Sunday night.